Libra darling, something unexpected is already making its way toward you, something that will shift your path, touch your soul, and remind you that God never left your side. This is not just another video in your feed. This is a divine appointment. You were meant to find this today. Let me ask you something. Have you been sensing that something is about to change, but you can't quite explain it? A quiet stirring in your spirit, an intuitive nudge, a moment of silence that felt like more than coincidence? That's because it wasn't coincidence. It was a whisper. And today, that whisper becomes a voice. A message. A key to the next door in your destiny. I'm not here to predict your future with vague generalizations. I'm here to walk beside you, Libra, as we unlock the wisdom the universe has hidden in plain sight, because what's coming for you is bigger than anything you've imagined. Yes, truly. A miracle is already in motion. You may not see it yet, but you will. And this miracle? It doesn't arrive because of luck or timing, it arrives because of who you are. Because of what you've endured. Because of your grace under pressure, and your unwavering faith when everything in you wanted to give up. Maybe you've been questioning your path. Maybe you've been trying to make peace with waiting. But now, that season is shifting. The seeds you planted in tears are ready to bloom. And the universe, yes, even God, is bringing it full circle. This isn't about religion. It's about presence. It's about divine timing. It's about you finally realizing that you were never alone, even in your loneliest nights. The signs have been there all along, a repeating number, a lyric that won't leave your mind, a dream that felt like more than just a dream. So pause with me here. Breathe. And recognize that something sacred is happening in this very moment. This isn't a reading to entertain you. It's a message to realign you. And if you're still watching, it means you're ready. Before we move forward, I want you to comment below with the number 717 to confirm your presence here. This isn't for mites for you. That comment is your signature, your signal to the divine that you're present, aware, and willing to receive. Just right, I'm ready to receive what's mine. And if you've been supporting this channel with your time, your likes, your comments, or your subscriptions, I want to take a moment and thank you with all my heart. Every action you take is a sacred thread in this web of connection we've built together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your presence here fuels the purpose of this channel. And trust me when I say, Libra, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this video, because what the universe is about to reveal to you is nothing short of spectacular. Now tell me, beautiful soul. What did you do this week to draw this message to you? What moment of quiet faith pulled this video into your path today? I believe you already know. So let's step into it together. Let's begin. There are moments in life when the silence inside us grows heavier than the noise around us. And often, it's in that stillness that the soul begins to whisper. That whisper doesn't come to condemn, but to awaken. And this is exactly the invitation offered through the presence of the Judgment card in your reading today. It's not a call to look back with shame, it's a gentle urging to rise into the truth you've outgrown the need to deny. For so long, Libra, you've moved through life trying to maintain peace for others, walking softly so no one is disturbed, smiling when your spirit longed to cry, adjusting your own needs so the world around you stays balanced. But inner harmony isn't created by making yourself small. It begins when you choose to honor what you truly feel, what you deeply believe, even when it disrupts the comfort of what's familiar. When the Judgment card appears, especially at the beginning of a reading, it is never accidental. It marks a threshold. One that asks you to pause and ask, whose life am I living? What version of myself have I been performing just to belong? And more importantly, what part of me is asking to come alive again? Astrologically, we're at a powerful crossroads. As Mercury transitions through the final shadow before entering Sagittarius, this planetary movement reflects a shift from silence to speaking truth, from thinking privately to declaring openly. It's not about being loud, it's about being real. And Sagittarius energy inspires us to move beyond limiting beliefs, to dare to align our words with our wisdom. This is the moment to liberate your voice, Libra. To say out loud the things you've carried in secret. Not to stir conflict, but to claim clarity. Imagine what it would feel like to say exactly what's been sitting on your chest, and feel the air lighten as you release it. That's what this card is asking you to consider. You don't need a dramatic transformation overnight. The first step is simple but sacred: tell yourself the truth. Even if it's only in your journal, even if no one else hears it yet. Write down 5 things you've been holding back, truths about your desires, your disappointments, your dreams. Let that list be the spark that burns away the fog of obligation. There's something incredibly healing about speaking what has been buried. It realigns your inner world with your outer one. And in doing so, it creates room for more honest connections, deeper self-trust, and a renewed sense of direction. And yes, even though we're not speaking in religious terms, there is still something miraculous about living in alignment. When you give yourself permission to stop pretending, to stop managing others' perceptions, you begin to access a kind of grace. Things start to shift. People respond differently. The weight on your chest begins to lift. This is not coincidence, it's resonance. The universe responds when you stop hiding. Some say that miracles come through divine timing, and that's true. But what they don't say enough is that miracles also come through courage. Through the quiet, brave choice to say, "This is who I am. This is what I need. This is what I choose." So if you've been feeling the pressure to stay silent for the sake of others, let today be different. Let today be the day you begin to reclaim the sound of your soul. Because what's waiting for you on the other side of this truth is not loss, it's liberation. And the life that fits your spirit more honestly is not far away. It begins with this simple question: what truth is ready to be set free inside me? Let that be where we continue. Sometimes, hope doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt. It comes quietly, like the first breath after a long cry, like a soft breeze brushing your skin after you've forgotten what lightness feels like. The Star card enters your reading in that exact way, not demanding attention, but offering gentle reassurance that something within you is beginning to glow again. It's a subtle shift, Libra, but one that changes everything. After the awakening call of judgment, where you were invited to tell the truth about what no longer fits your life, the Star meets you like a hand held out in kindness. This is not about forcing healing or demanding answers. It's about remembering that healing has already begun the moment you allowed yourself to feel. You don't need to do anything heroic to be worthy of restoration, you just need to stay open. The astrological timing reflects this message beautifully. With the moon transiting through a sign that invites stillness and reflection, and as Neptune softly aspects Venus, there's an energetic invitation to soften. This softness isn't weakness, it's where real strength is reborn. If you've been noticing certain repeating numbers, songs that speak to your soul, or unexpected memories surfacing from nowhere, take a breath. You're not imagining things. You're tuning in. These signs often appear when you've unknowingly asked the universe, "Am I still being seen?" And the answer comes in these gentle confirmations: yes, you're not forgotten. This card invites you to stop chasing and start allowing. If you've been trying to fix everything on your own, the star whispers that not all healing requires struggle. Sometimes, it simply requires rest. Watering. Time. Just like a seed doesn't rush to bloom, your soul needs the rhythm of restoration. And right now, that rhythm is playing for you. The star is also about returning to faith, not blind optimism, but faith as a quiet knowing that what's ahead is greater than what was lost. I often think of how in everyday life, we see little moments where this kind of hope shows up. Like the woman who once told me she prayed every night for her son, who had gone distant for years. Then one day, without a word, he showed up at her door. No dramatic build-up, just grace, arriving in its own time. That's what the star brings. Not noise, but nourishment. Libra, you may not have felt ready to begin again. But beginnings don't wait for perfection. They wait for willingness. And right now, you're being given an opportunity to believe in your own light again. Even if it flickers. Even if it's small. That light matters. So I invite you to look at your life with new eyes today. Where has hope been quietly returning, unnoticed? Maybe it's in your willingness to get out of bed when it's hard. Maybe it's the way you smiled at someone even though your heart was heavy. Maybe it's the simple fact that you pressed play on this video today. Those things count. They're part of the healing. If this message resonates, take a moment to honor it. Write a comment to mark this moment, something as simple as, "I see the light returning," or "I choose to believe again." Your words, your choice to speak into this space, help reinforce the new path you're choosing to walk. Healing doesn't always feel miraculous while it's happening. Sometimes, it feels ordinary. But what's ordinary to the world can still be holy in your life. And that, Libra, is the essence of the star. Let it light the next steps ahead, however quietly they come. When life begins to whisper through signs, synchronicities, and subtle shifts, it often does so by preparing the soil of your soul for a harvest you may not even realize you planted. The presence of the Empress in your reading, Libra, is not just a pleasant image of beauty and fertility, it's a confirmation that your inner ground is ready, and that what once felt hidden or dormant is now entering a stage of visible growth. This card always arrives when you've spent long seasons nurturing in silence. Perhaps you've supported others without recognition. Perhaps you've held back your own desires to keep things peaceful. Or maybe you've quietly dreamed, sketched out plans in the corners of your mind, never quite believing the timing was right. The Empress doesn't tell you to wait anymore. She tells you it's time to birth. To bloom. To become. Right now, astrologically, you're sitting in a vibrant energy pocket. The upcoming new moon in a fire sign is lighting up your fifth house, the space in your birth chart that rules creativity, joy, romance, and personal expression. This isn't accidental. The cosmos are aligning in a way that says, it's safe to make something real. It's safe to want again. To desire boldly. To take your dream from concept to creation without apology. Too often, we hold back from beginning because we think the result must be perfect, polished, or proven. But the Empress reminds you that creation is messy and divine at once. It's not always about outcomes. Sometimes it's about reclaiming your ability to bring something beautiful into existence simply because it brings you joy. The way a child sings without fear of judgment. The way a garden grows whether or not anyone is watching. I once spoke to a woman who told me that after years of giving everything to her job, she finally sat down and painted for the first time in a decade. It wasn't for a gallery. It wasn't to sell. It was just for her. That act, though quiet and personal, became the catalyst for a series of changes: new friendships, better sleep, a deeper sense of purpose. She didn't plan it. She simply followed the pull to create, and her life blossomed from there. That's the kind of transformation the Empress brings. So what in your life feels ready to be brought into the light? What idea have you carried quietly in your heart, afraid it's too small, too late, or not important enough? Maybe it's starting a blog, rearranging your home, planting herbs, learning something new, or even writing down a childhood memory before it fades. Choose one. Just one. And act on it this week, not because it will change your life overnight, but because it honors the harvest that's been quietly growing within you all along. This is also a beautiful time to practice embodied self-love. Move your body in a way that feels nourishing. Eat what brings you energy instead of guilt. Rest not as a reward, but as a ritual. The Empress teaches us that when we treat ourselves as sacred, the world around us begins to mirror that energy back to us. If you've been waiting for a sign to begin, this is it. Not just because the cards say so, but because you feel it rising in your chest. That gentle tug toward doing something that's been calling your name. You don't need permission. You need presence. And presence begins with one simple decision: I'm ready to act on what I've carried. Let that action be your prayer today. Write down your 5 forgotten dreams. Choose the one that feels most alive. And before you leave, declare in the comments, I plant by acting today. Because when you put hands to soil, even the smallest seed can become a sacred miracle. Sometimes, what steadies us is not what we see ahead, but what we sense beneath our feet, the quiet feeling that even if we don't know the full map, we are still being led. After embracing the creative calling of the Empress, the Hierophant now enters your reading as a steady hand on your shoulder, a reminder that the next steps you take don't have to be taken alone. There is order, rhythm, and quiet guidance already at work in your life, whether or not you've been aware of it. The Hierophant is often misunderstood as purely a symbol of tradition or institutional structure. But when it shows up in a personal reading like this, its meaning softens and deepens. It speaks to the sacred patterns that hold you up, the routines that nourish your spirit, the mentors who walk with you, and the quiet truths that echo through generations. For Libra, a sign ruled by Venus and naturally drawn to harmony, this card also brings reassurance that structure can feel supportive, not stifling. There's wisdom in what's been passed down. There's strength in knowing you're part of something larger than one moment. Energetically, this card appears when you're beginning to question what you believe, not in a way that breaks you, but in a way that invites growth. You might be redefining your spiritual practices, shifting your priorities, or asking bigger questions about your purpose. The Hierophant doesn't come to hand you all the answers. It comes to remind you that the answers have always been unfolding and you've never been left alone to find them. I think about a story a client once shared with me how, after months of feeling lost, she was ready to give up on a dream she'd nurtured for years. But on the exact day she planned to quit, she received a simple email, someone thanking her for something she'd written long ago. That message didn't just change her mind, it shifted her entire perception of timing, trust, and divine coordination. She told me afterward, "I realized I hadn't been forgotten. I had just been protected." That is the energy of the Hierophant. Guidance that doesn't always speak loudly, but always arrives exactly when you need it. In astrology, this card is linked to Taurus energy: slow, stable, and enduring. It invites you to ground your vision into something real, to lean on what's tried and true even as you evolve. Right now, you may notice the number 5 appearing in unexpected places: sun receipts, clocks, signs. In numerology, 5 is the number of change and spiritual evolution. But it's not chaotic change. It's sacred realignment. It often shows up when your foundation is being strengthened, not shaken. So if you've been feeling uncertain or disconnected, this is your gentle reminder: you haven't been walking in circles. You've been walking through preparation. There are hands you can't see that have been clearing the way. What feels like delay may actually be divine redirection. And if it feels like no one understands where you are right now, the Hierophant affirms that someone does. Whether that's a mentor, a sacred text, or a deeper knowing within yourself, it's enough to keep going. As you sit with this energy, I invite you to reflect. What small routines or practices have helped you feel safe lately? Where have you received guidance that you didn't recognize until later? The answers may surprise you. And if this card stirred something within, take a moment to comment below: "I am being guided and protected." Say it not because you need proof, but because claiming it aligns your heart with what's already true. This is not a season to go it alone, Libra. Let the Hierophant be your permission to trust what's unfolding and to reach for the wisdom already within and around you. You're not walking blindly, you're walking guided. And now we arrive at the part where everything you felt, sensed, hoped for, and even feared asks to be turned into something tangible. Because belief without movement is just an idea. But belief with movement? That's where transformation begins. Libra, you've come through the awakening of judgment, the gentle restoration of the star, the blooming invitation of the Empress, and the sacred reassurance of the Hierophant. Every one of those energies was preparing you for this moment, the moment where you decide to live like what you believe is already true. It's easy to say, "I trust," when things are clear. But true faith shows itself in the dark, in the uncertainty, in the decision to try anyway. That's what this part of your journey is about. Not just visualizing your best life, but taking the step that aligns with that vision even if you don't know how it all plays out. That step can be small, so small, in fact, that the world may not notice. But your soul will. And that's what matters. Astrologically, Libra is a cardinal air sign. You were born to initiate change, not wait for permission. You carry the gift of perspective, of balance, of seeing beauty in both the unseen and the practical. Right now, the planetary alignments are gently nudging you to lean in, not just into dreaming, but into doing. Saturn's energy in the sky reminds us that commitment creates stability, and Mars's fire whispers that it's time to move. Together, they create the perfect foundation to begin imperfectly, courageously, honestly. You don't need a full plan. You need a starting point. And that begins by asking yourself one bold question. If I knew I wouldn't fail, what would I do today? Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. But today. Would you apply for that job? Would you end something that drains you? Would you start writing, or reach out to someone you've been missing? That question reveals more than you think. It shows you where your heart has been calling, softly, persistently, while fear held the reins. It reminds me of a woman I once guided, who carried a dream to open a wellness studio for 5 years. She told me she kept waiting for a sign. What she didn't realize was that the desire was the sign. The longing itself was sacred. She began by offering one small community class in her living room. That single action, fueled by faith, not fear, became the seed of something that changed not just her life, but the lives of others. That's what happens when we honor faith as action. Let's bring this to your everyday life. In health, begin with a breath, 10 quiet minutes in the morning and evening to return to yourself. Add water. Add magnesium. These small rituals signal to your body, I care, I'm listening. In your career, ask yourself what you're holding onto out of habit, not nourishment. It's okay to outgrow something. That's not failure, it's clarity. In finances, track your spending not to shame yourself, but to shine a light on what you value. And in love, name your needs with compassion. Write them down. And then, stop settling for connections that don't meet you there. What we claim in writing becomes real. So if any part of this message reaches you, take a moment and comment, I act in faith, not in fear. Let those words live outside your mind. Let them echo through your fingertips into something solid. That act alone can begin the shift. Libra, the universe doesn't just respond to your wishes, it responds to your will. And your will, guided by trust, is more powerful than you've allowed yourself to believe. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create momentum now, even if it's gentle. Especially if it's gentle. This is not the end of your story, it's the moment you finally start writing it with your own hand. Libra, if you've made it here, I want you to take a slow breath with me. Inhale deeply, not just air, but permission. Permission to release the pressure, the timelines, the questions that never seem to find clear answers. Because the truth is, you're not behind. You're not late. You're not broken or lost. You are exactly where you're meant to be, standing at the edge of something new, something sacred, something that's been waiting for you to say, yes, I'm ready. So much of your journey has been about waiting. But not the passive kind. The kind of waiting that transforms you. The kind of waiting where the roots grow deep, even when the surface seems still. You've been preparing for this without even realizing it, through every quiet act of hope, every moment you chose to keep going, every time you whispered a prayer into the dark with no proof of an answer. But answers come. Sometimes not when we want them, but always when we're ready to receive. You don't need to be saved, Libra. You are already being guided. That subtle feeling you've had, the one that tells you something is shifting even if you can't name it? That's not your imagination. That's alignment. And what looks like delay in the eyes of the world is often divine timing in disguise. A setup, not a setback. Preparation, not punishment. So let me ask you now, gently but clearly, What would you allow yourself to receive if you truly believed it was meant for you? What blessing have you been talking yourself out of, shrinking away from, or waiting to deserve? What dream have you paused mid-sentence because it felt too bold, too big, too soon? Now is the moment to bring those things back into the light. Not all at once. Not with force. Just with willingness. Just with honesty. And maybe that begins with a single choice today. Maybe it's as small as writing something down, making one decision, or telling someone what you really need. Maybe it's finally believing that the love, the breakthrough, the opportunity you've been waiting for isn't miles away. It's already circling you, quietly looking for an open door. And you, Libra, are the key. Let your action be your answer. Let your comment be your declaration. Say it with me, I give myself permission to receive all that is good, without conditions. Let that be your signature to the universe, not as someone who is begging, but as someone who is ready. Not someday. Today. And if this video resonated with your soul in any way, I invite you to take one more small step, like, comment, and subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This channel isn't just about cards, it's about connection. It's about building a community of gentle souls who believe in timing, healing, and the quiet miracles that change everything. Your presence here means more than you know, and your support is what helps us keep sending out these messages, these whispers meant just for you. Libra, you are not alone. You never have been. The signs have been speaking. The path is clearing. And yes, something unexpected is coming. Not to shock you, but to remind you that you are seen, supported, and stronger than ever before. The next step? It's yours to take. And the universe is already walking beside you. Are you ready?